We are going to start off with Coach Lindgren. When you're ready, please ask your first question.
Brian, I want to ask you about the receivers. What was your, after you watched video, what was your assessment of how they played? Did they? It sounds like they didn't get open a lot.
Well, I'd first say that I felt like we challenged them the week before in practice to do a better job blocking in the run game, and I thought those guys did a really good job, and we ran the ball pretty efficiently against a pretty solid defense, which was good to see. And then obviously we've got to be better in the pass game, and I think that it speaks to the whole unit. I don't know that you can target one specific group. I mean, we got to be better at QB. We got to be better at receiver. We got to block them better up front. There were a number of things I think that led to, kind of some of our frustrations and the, lack thereof pass game. But I was really pleased with the way that we ran the ball. And I liked the way that our receivers blocked in the run game. They did a nice job. Now we've got to complement and be able to, balance it out and do a better job in the pass game.
Yeah, two things from that. I mean, I guess that I was trying to deflect some of the blame off of Tristan just because he's getting all the heat.
Yeah, no question. And it's I know we were all frustrated with the way that we did, and that was it. It was a pretty frustrating game, in that we really didn't. Their offense did a nice job of controlling the clock, and they were on the ball. I think it was like 37 minutes to 23 minutes, and we didn't get as many opportunities as we usually get to. And so I think there was a lot of things, particularly pass game wise, that we just kind of had on the call sheet still and weren't able to get to. But we've got to throw the ball better. And I like I said, I think it's all areas. I mean, it was, we got a receiver's winning on the route downfield and we get beat up front, or we've got a guy open downfield and we missed the throw at QB. And it's just one of those frustrating things that we weren't really clicking, and it showed. And against a quality defense like that, and with a really good secondary, I think you got to give them some credit in their secondary. You got to be on, you got to be sharp, and you got to be clicking in all areas.
That's one area I think a lot of people overlook is the blocking aspect from the receivers. I mean, you were saying that was really something you guys emphasized during last week. And did you feel like that kind of got the running game going even more than did a week ago?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been our strength, and I thought the O-line, those guys came off the ball and were physical, and I mean, it was really good to see. And we just kind of rode that. That was the thing that we had going, and we were moving it and tried to really lead with the run. And it just would have been better if we would have been able to complement it with a little bit, better passing game, more consistency. We had the opportunity in the 2-minute drive at the end to go win the game and couldn't get it done.
With regards to Tristan, how would you assess his play? And I guess, are there a couple areas specifically you would like to see him shore up after watching film?
Yeah, no, I mean, it wasn't his best game, and I know there was a couple throws that he would like to, he'd like to have back. I know he missed Musgrave a couple of times over the middle. But he was, he was getting some pressure in his face. There was guys moving him off his spot in the pocket. And so we got to do a better job up front in that area. And I don't think our lack of passing game, I don't think all falls on Tristan. I just, like I mentioned earlier, I think it goes to the details and winning on the route, and it goes to our protection up front. And then it ultimately goes on Tristan being able to make the throw. And he missed some, but there's some other areas that we, as a unit, we've got to be able to help him out. And then I think, like you said, an area that I think we're focusing on with him is moving in the pocket, pocket movement. He's getting a little bit of pressure. He's having to move off his spot, and being able to finish with an accurate throw, when he's not hitting it necessarily right on time, and he's moved off his spot a little bit. And that's an area I think he struggled a little bit through the first 2 games.
One other thing about the receivers, when you guys when you went to the passing play, what was there anything Washington did in particular that made it difficult for you guys? Were they jamming your receivers a lot, or were they? What did they do anything in particular that really made it frustrating for the receivers?
I mean, I don't want to get necessarily into the scheme of things. I'll say that I feel like their secondary year in and year out are extremely well coached, and they got a lot of talent in that secondary. And I thought those guys did a nice job. And we, in order for us to move it and throw it efficiently, we've got to execute at a higher level than we did. And we weren't on the top of our game on Saturday, and it showed. We just weren't able to make them pay with anything pass wise, which was frustrating.
Obviously, the sample size isn't huge, but how does Tristan tend to respond to disappointing moments like this, as far as you can tell?
We'll find out. We'll find out this week, and I really like the way that the attitude that he had Sunday in film. He had an open mind coming in and taking notes, trying to learn from the mistakes that he made. But I'll say most of the mistakes have been just on the physical end. I feel like for the most part through the first two games, he's making pretty good decisions with the football. It's just at times it's just been his inability to finish the throw if he has to move off his spot a little bit in the pocket, and that's where he's got to get better. And that's something that we're working on in individual drills and working on in practice.
Going back to the receivers, who do you think in particular does a really good job in the blocking game?
Well, shoot, the last game I thought Trayvon Bradford, Colby Taylor, Tyjon Lindsey had a really good block. We were in the red zone there. We're running a little crack sweep, toss deal, and stuck his nose in there and finished a block for us that ended up springing a touchdown. So, those three off the top of my head, from Saturday, but that was an area I thought coming out of the first game that we were a little bit frustrated with. We didn't feel like we were as detailed or as physical out on the perimeter, and I think it showed, and it was one of the reasons that we were able to create some more explosive runs in the run game.
Jamar's obviously had a couple of really big games so far. And how do you think that your offensive line has kind of done in that running game? How would you grade them 2 games in?
Yeah, I thought they were better in the Washington game than they were, against Washington State, more consistent. And I felt really comfortable calling the runs, and they opened up a bunch of holes. I thought they came off the ball and played physical against a pretty solid defensive front. So yeah, pleased with their performance. And obviously Jamar, I think he's running really well right now and seeing things and making good decisions, getting vertical. And yeah, he's a good player. We got to keep feeding him the ball.
The penalties, you haven't had a lot of them, but it seems like they come at the worst times, like getting a holding penalty on the first play of the game when you're trying to get off to a decent start. Other than just reminding them to knock it off, what else do you do?
Yeah, I think it just comes down to discipline in some of those areas. And some of those penalties, those holds, and some of those things will naturally happen throughout the course of the game. And I don't think you want to ever coach the aggressiveness out of our guys. But they got to play discipline with their hands. And then we really focus on the pre-snap penalties of the things that we can control as far as, not having false starts and having the right guys on the field. And I feel like the first 2, we've done a pretty good job of that. But, some of those things, it's just, we got to be more disciplined. Can't have that especially on the first play.
Do you think that your offensive line's playing noticeably better in run situations than it is in pass? Are you able to kind of quantify that?
Yeah, I do right now. I think Coach Mahalchuk would say the same thing. I think we're further along run blocking right now, and through the first 2 games, that's been an area that we've been a little bit better at, and we've struggled at times, and especially predictable passing situations. And again, I think that was a little bit of that passing game. Didn't have a ton of reps, and then a lot of that came down to like a lot of those passes are third down and long, or third down situations, and then 2-minute drill, and those are sometimes challenging, a little bit more challenging. You're seeing some different pressures and different looks when they know you're going to throw the ball, and that's an area that we definitely need to improve, and we're really focused on. We'll focus on this week in practice.
Does it come down to some of those guys just being naturally better run blockers maybe than they are pass blockers?
I wouldn't say that. I think it's just having discipline with your technique, and I think those guys are capable of doing it. We've got to do it at a little bit higher level. And I don't know. I couldn't speak to that for those guys individually. You'd have to ask probably Coach Mahalchek on that.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.